AI will change gaming forever. At least that is what I'm going to argue in this video, as well as sort of cover a whole host of topics as a flyover and maybe introductory into a series of videos about all the ways that I see AI sort of affecting and changing the way that video games are made and experienced for forever. The way that AI is advancing at the speed that it is, the breakneck speed, and the way that it has advanced into virtually every technological sector is almost hard to grasp. It's hard to even quantify and measure because it has sort of compounded on itself. Seemingly every week there's a new area where AI is being affected. At this point, I describe it as a technological virus seemingly infecting anything and everything that has ties to technology systems, because they can all be made better or improved by AI, by learning systems, by artificial intelligence. And some see it as scary, and some see a lot of the elements of this as worrisome. Some are even calling for a moratorium on actually developing AI technology until we can properly assess what it's going to do. Wherever you land on this, I see a lot of different ways that this is going to change gaming as we know it. It's not just going to change the way that we experience games. I believe it will fundamentally change how games are developed, how they're maintained, the level of what goes into game design. And I want to do this series because I really think it's an important subject. I think it'll be fun to talk about, but also just speculate and guess what systems and what types of things we're going to see. And I wanted to go over all of the different videos I'm essentially going to do and all the different topics very quickly with you right now as just sort of a 30,000 feet. Let's shoot over all the ways that I think gaming will be changed by AI. So I tried to put this in a bit of a logical order, and I started with world creation. This will be, I think, one of the systems that benefits the most from AI. We're already seeing big jumps in procedural generation technology. We're seeing what seems like AI being harnessed in the Unreal 5 engine, creating systems that can create entire worlds or have worlds that react to changes that you make within them, just sort of streamlining all of those systems to give you a faster road to a large open world. Devs will be able to spin up, I think, entire worlds, planets, universes, and just cut down on dev time. And while handcrafted feel of a game may take a hit, this will be, I think, one of the ways that AI is harnessed. Another thing is just content delivery, sort of related to being able to spin up planets, worlds, and universes. I have always said that one of the main bottlenecks of a game developer keeping up with the player behavior, the player habits in live service games, the actual bottleneck is technology itself. There would need to be a technological solution to keep up with the player habits, to be able to spin out content almost automatically in response to the way players behave in a game, to how much they play, to what they end up interacting with. I think AI systems are going to be able to do that. We'll see systems that study and adapt future content delivery to be in line with player habits as well as player behavior, what was popular, what was not. They already have systems in place to sort of study the player habits, but if you automate it and you create learning systems, it would really, really streamline the ability to deliver content in a more efficient and expeditious way, which is related to the next big category that I think will be heavily affected by AI: game QA, testing, and betas. We've already seen QA testers not treated in the best way by the industry, to the point that many are just wanting to either sort of unionize or even sort of go to the outsourcing method, create a company and say, hey, you can outsource your QA to us. These companies better be adapting quickly and looking at ways to harness AI, because the growing interest in public betas, I think, is showing that devs really want to test their servers. But imagine an automated AI game QA system that could simulate millions of player permutations in a matter of hours. Instead of kicking out your game into the public, you could have all of your systems tested. You could test the map. You could test the world for all those pesky fall-through spots, and you could do it faster than any human person could. And if you automate it all, It could completely eliminate the need for massive amounts of QI just detecting bugs alone. There's already lots of automated systems that do this, but learning systems and AI systems that could sniff these out, find them, and maybe even fix them on their own would radically change the way that we think about QA, quality assurance, beta tests, alpha tests, tech tests, and the like. Then you could get into, I think, all the different ways that you design things within the games themselves. Think about NPC design. Imagine a robust AI and learning system that has NPCs reacting and responding dynamically to player choices, player behavior. This touches about 100 other systems of learning and adaptation because many people want to have their own unique story. They want their dialogue to have an impact on the outcome of a game. You could have stories, side quests, and missions that the developers don't even know how they end, how they conclude. You could create systems that literally only react to your choices and the things that you want to do in the game, which is related to a big category. And honestly, it's a big debate point in games. Game difficulty. This is one of the hottest debates, right? How to make a game truly difficult, because you get into games where the really expert players just learn all the animations, all the telegraphs. They know everything the enemy is going to do. The really, really high level players do no-hit runs. They completely dominate the game. Then there's everybody else who just wants easy mode. They just want story mode. And then there's the rest of us that are kind of all in between. And many people have talked about, and I've talked about, false difficulty, games that just make things incredibly hard, or they shrink the window of response time to milliseconds, and it seems like it's not even really designed for like a human person. But there's also just the raising of health, the raising of damage. You just go in and fight an enemy that's just way stronger than you, and you have to survive just a barrage of attacks that often sometimes seem like they can't even be gotten away from. Well, you could scale difficulty to adapt to the player. AI learning systems could detect and deduce just how good a player is or how bad a player is. You could say, hey, listen, I'm an inexperienced player. I would like for this game to sort of learn and trend downward, or it would just do it on its own. It would know the difference between when my son is playing and when I am playing, meaning if I tried to help him, it would quickly adapt and suddenly I wouldn't be able to assist him, with beating whatever boss that he is stuck on. But it could also completely adapt the game around where he is. Instead of one size fits all difficulty settings, you'd have an entire spectrum of difficulty essentially adapting to the skill of the player. Dynamic adaptive difficulty could become a buzzword in some of the hardest games out there. Dynamic adaptive difficulty. Yeah, it spells dad, so I like it. I think you could see that happen. I really do. And honestly, if you think about NPCs and you think about difficulty, player behavior could be a huge factor of AI systems. AI systems could study behavior and lead to a whole host of sub-AI systems where players responding to content could be recorded and then implemented into the content delivery we already talked about. Your sequels, your ongoing content model could be heavily influenced by an AI learning system, and it could create subsystems that say these types of players enjoy this type of content, and it could spin up those worlds and spin up those NPCs and quest lines and just shove them out. If you really think about where we're headed, I believe that's where we are headed. Truly dynamic living worlds that adapt and respond and grow and evolve in relation to what the players are doing, and nobody would have the same experience. Nobody would be met with the same things and the same quests or the same experiences in general. You would truly have your own experience, which leads to one of the more scary categories: monetization. This is obviously where it could get pretty bad, right? How much is somebody willing to spend? How often? It could learn, it could know what day of the week, what mood is the person in, and then implement the push. Hey, this person is typically willing to spend this much money, and you always kind of come beneath it. I think this could obviously get into legalities and ethics of manipulative behavior. They're already known for this. They learn what works and what doesn't, and they go for a monetization structure that will optimize profits if you could go with a monetization structure that is using AI and learning systems and then subsystems to know within certain pieces of content and certain times of day to trigger the pop-up or trigger something in the game. You could even have content delivery and content structure baked around this so that if you want more experiences, if you want to do the next thing, DLC or season pass, it's handcrafted for you and they would know exactly where to set the price. All of this can come from AI because it's compounding and it's going so fast. It's learning how to do some of the things that you would never have imagined AI could learn to do. And I think it get into even how games are made, not just the NPCs and the monetization and like, oh, here's the content, but think about story and narrative. We've already seen how quickly AI can generate stories and characters and dialogue. You could create an entire game or an entire quest line in a matter of hours. Instead of getting a team of writers and thinking through all these different things, you could create all these prompts and all these subsystems to create not just prompts but sub-prompts to have response and other characters responding and branching stories that could spin up in mere minutes if you create the systems appropriately. Now, this would obviously be a subsystem that could work with sort of the dynamic quest that we talked about, or reactive NPC stories, right? It could spin up stories and dialogue in response to things that you do for a truly emergent experience, and it would all be running and humming on the back of AI, just in the background. And this is related to something that we've already seen concern from people about: voice acting. Voice actors right now should be looking into trademarking and copyright protecting their voice, because you've seen it, right? The deep fake voice work that people are doing, they do it for comedic effect, right? Current and past presidents and celebrities. It's really funny. Well, no, that's a dim glimmer of what AI is going to bring to voice work in the future of games. It could completely unseat the need for real life people delivering voice lines. And then this is something I've always thought would be very cool. Teaching a game how to say your name, that's not that difficult these days, is it? Right? We have all these, these voice activated and text to speech and everything else. So eventually you're going to have a game that's like, oh, your name is Amanda or your name is Charles. It'll just say your name. You'll teach it the name and it'll say it with an actual real sounding voice. Voice actors have got to be concerned about this. They've got to be worried and really hoping that they can bring that level of gravitas and emotion and presentation and performance so that they're not completely eradicated from video game market by AI. Well, who needs to hire celebrities? Who needs to hire professional voice actors? We've got AI systems for that now. Lastly, audio and soundtrack. AI is already learning how to create art out of thin air, right? So music and sound effects are no doubt already happening, or maybe even around the corner. This could be something as simple as a game sound effect, right? The snapping of a twig, or an entire original score for a game. All of this is exciting, okay? But it's a little scary. The imminent force in the technological world right now is AI. It simply cannot be stopped. This technological virus, or this technology virus, as I call it, will change games forever. It is likely already changing games that we will play in 5 or 6 years. Even more so in the next couple of months. Systems will emerge, changes will take place, and they will be implemented into the development of games. And I want to walk back through everything I just talked about and do a video about each and every one of these things, because there are so many ideas, so many things I want to speculate about, and maybe even kind of predict and say, this is where I see some of this stuff going. Because listen, the hope would be that this is mostly good for gaming, but it could lead to its degradation. As always, if you like this video, if you like these thoughts, and you're looking forward to more from this series, leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on my content or my live streams. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.